AMVETS Post 2006 here in Leesburg, Florida. And we're a proud sponsor of Central Florida Salute on the YouTube channel. I'd like to have you check us out on our Facebook page or whatever. Our address is 500 North Canal Street in Leesburg, Florida. To all you veterans out there, come by and see us. We salute you for your service and thank you very much.
Hello, welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I want to talk to you about a show that you're about to see. It features this gentleman here, Captain Charlie Plumb, and Stan Beach, who was a Vietnam veteran. They're both Vietnam veterans. Stan Beach has a chaplain school named after him. He lost his leg and most of his hearing over in Vietnam. Captain Stan Beach was in the Hanoi Hilton. He has a great presentation about what it was like to be in the Hanoi Hilton. He wrote this book, I'm No Hero. As far as he's concerned, the guy who packed his parachute was his hero. This is a video that I took with my camcorder a long time ago in 2013 when the city of Tavares did a welcome home for Vietnam veterans. Stan Beach was there, and so was Captain Charlie Plumb, along with other people you'll recognize. It's not a salute show in the past, but it's good. It's something good you might want to watch, so enjoy.
Just to remember every day, it's a little, probably 6x6 piece of paneling that was painted in Vietnam. Only two colors were available, brown and green. And it's the face of a very weary-looking Marine. And on it, written over it, was the inscription that every name here, the face will disappear, and time will not defer, but there will always be the bond between who we are and where we were. Wherever I go, the Vietnam vets have a special bond. We all were probably different places, different times, but we shared the same dangers, we shared the same joys, and we shared some of the same smells. All of you will remember. A few months ago, I was at Camp Lejeune visiting wounded warriors. They knew I was a Vietnam vet, and I congratulated and thanked the young Marine for his service. He snapped to attention and said, "Sir, we simply stood on your shoulders."
The prison cell I was in Vietnam was 8 feet long and 8 feet wide, exactly the width of this riser. I remember distinctly the dimensions of the little cell. I could pace 3 steps in one direction before I ran into a wall. Then I had the opportunity of turning around and pacing 3 steps the other way. Inside my new little home, I had nothing to do. I had no books to read, no windows to look out, no TV, telephone, BlackBerry, Bluetooth. I didn't have a pencil or a piece of paper for 2,103 days. To give you a better feel for that window of time, 2,103 days equates to age 24 to age 30 in my life. 1967 to 1973. Or turn your calendar ahead to the year 2019 and consider between today and 2019. The books to read and TV you watch and movies you'll see and kids you'll raise is a pretty good chunk out of a guy's life. Now, I've been a very active guy, like each of you, on the go, all the time, searching for an extra 15 minutes a week to call my mom. And suddenly I had 24 hours a day for the next nearly 6 years. Now, I'm describing this scenario to you somewhat semi-dramatically. Please excuse the drama. In no way in this crowd would I ask for sympathy from my situation. But I think the most value I can be to you, my brother Vietnam veterans, the wives and mothers and sisters and brothers and children of Vietnam veterans, this community from all over Lake County, the most value I can be in the few minutes I'm speaking to you is to invite you into my little prison cell. Because there's a lot of positive things that go on in a prison cell. So for the next few moments, I'd like for you to try your best to smell the stench of my 2-gallon bucket in the corner I call my toilet. I'd like you to try to feel the baking heat of a tropical summer in a tin-roof prison cell, 120 degrees and not a breath of air. I'd like you to try to taste the salt in the corners of your mouth and the sweat and the tears and the blood. Not that you'll ever get there, but when you have that feel, you're going to have a couple of questions. How do you survive this? Because there's not a military person in this room, under this tent, that has not thought about what would happen to you if you're in a situation like this. And most of us felt that it would be worse than death to be in a prison camp with the torture and the bad food and the disease and the loneliness and the separation from all your loved ones. But I'm here to tell you that there is good news. There is good news about serving in a prison camp. And there's good news about the service that each of you vets served in Vietnam. And there's good news in the families as well. And I'm here to tell you that. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't take me very many miles, but 3 steps by 3 steps I'm going nuts. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, what could be worse than this? Well, let me tell you what's worse than the 8 feet between those prison walls is the 8 inches between your ears. See, this is a mental game. This prisoner of war stuff, this being a military guy, this having served in Vietnam, it's a mental thing. It's the way you think about these things. And I'm convinced you can be more incarcerated. You can be more seriously in a prison in that 8-inch box between your ears than those 8-foot walls that I was behind. And I hope that I can explain that to you today. But I don't mind telling you this, it didn't take me very many miles. At 3 steps by 3 steps, I was going nuts. I was having hallucinations when those first few months in that prison cell, and I'm thinking to myself, Charlie, if you're going to survive this, you're going to have to come up with something to do. Make a little game to play. Get a little creative here. Keep your mind active. I thought that's what I'll do. I'll make a little deck of cards. And I did. I constructed a little deck of playing cards, about the size of postage stamps. I tore these cards from 52 little strips of toilet paper. And I can tell you this with authority, toilet paper is tough to shuffle. You learn things like that in the military. What a privilege and a pleasure to be with my brothers and my sisters. I'm telling you, this is not easy to put this together. And I want to say another vote of thanks to this committee. Where'd Larry go? Ah, you're sitting over there. Larry Matt, stand up again, my friend. He told us last night at dinner that this was not about him, it was not about politics. He said, I'm not even going to tell him that I'm their representative. But I'll tell you what, this is the real deal. If you didn't vote for him last time, vote for him now. And then these other knuckleheads now. We got 2 Marines on the committee, as you know. George and Larry are both Marines, so I'm going to talk a little bit slower. I'm sorry. not say anything bad about the Marine Corps or any other handicap. Scott Bushnell, my classmate from the Naval Academy, we go back how many years? 50 next year's our 50th reunion. As a matter of fact, Ken Middleton, you heard on the bagpipe. Where's Ken? Are you still around? In your cute little skirt. Ken's our classmate as well. Got one other classmate in this crowd, and I've lost him now. But hey, there you go. Stand up. We didn't know each other very well. But they're the proud class of 1964 United States Naval Academy. And of course the other Scott Smith, the Colonel Scott, and Lou Brown back there. Great committee. Thanks for putting this together. It means a lot to all of us. One more. Of course, what an honor it is to be with one other Navy captain that still fits in his uniform. Chaplain Beach has more war stories than I do. You ought to be up here talking about that. I really appreciate your service, my friend, in Vietnam, and each and every one of you. I think I can describe you, the Vietnam veterans, and your families and supporters here as being parachute packers. Explain that. I sat down in a restaurant in Kansas City not so long ago, about 2 tables over. A guy kept looking at me. I didn't recognize this yet. He stood up. He walked over to my table. He pointed at me, and with a very serious look on his face, he said, "You're Captain Plumb." I looked up and I said, "Yes, sir, I'm Captain Plumb." He said, "You're that guy. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam. You're a fighter pilot. Part of that Top Gun outfit off the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. And you were shot down. You parachuted in enemy hands. You spent 6 years as a prisoner of war." Somewhat dumbfounded, I looked up at this guy and I said, "How in the world did you know all that?" Finally cracked a smile and he said, "Because I packed your parachute." I tell you, I've said a lot of prayers of thanks for your nimble fingers as a parachute rigger. But I had no idea I'd ever had the opportunity to express my gratitude to you in person. He said, "Were all the panels there?" I said, "I really appreciate your concern, and I got to be honest with you, no, they weren't. Of the panels, I had 3 torn panels in that parachute, but it didn't hamper my safe descent. You did your job. It was my fault that the panels were torn. I ejected from that F-4 Phantom jet at 600 knots, close to the ground. I was well outside the envelope of your parachute." I said, "Let me ask you a question. Do you keep track of all the parachutes you pack? Do you know of all the lives you saved?" And I said, "No. Now this is the most important part of the conversation that night. Maybe the most thing I say to you today. I think it deals directly for why we're here and our responsibilities in communities like this." Here's what he said. He said, "No, I don't keep track of all the parachutes I pack. It's enough gratification for me just to know that I've served." Here's a sailor, well below the waterline of this aircraft carrier, a parachute rigger. Stands at a long wooden table and he weaves the shrouds and he folds the silk panels of these parachutes and passes them along one after another, just doing his job, while the jet jockey, while the Top Gun zooms around the sky at the speed of sound, and I couldn't have cared less about the guy down there in the hole. Until one day my parachute came along and he packed mine up for me. So the question becomes, who packs your parachute? And maybe more importantly, who looks to you for that kind of strength in time of great need? Well, my parachute was pretty well packed. When I was shot down over in enemy territory, only 3 torn panels, that was enough for a safe descent. So my physical parachute, okay? But I want to talk about mental parachutes and spiritual parachutes. The things that protect us when we're in trouble. My mental parachute had the skills of my craft, engineering degree from the Naval Academy. My emotional parachute, pretty stable guy. My spiritual parachute, I knew the Lord. Got my parachute packed, same place you did, early in life. I know some of you represent some pretty small communities around here. I grew up in Leesburg, Kansas, town of some 325 souls, and a couple of Presbyterians. I was a rich kid, filthy rich I was. Yeah. Now the family didn't have any money, but we were rich in family unity and love, and I had a great childhood. But I grew up in a 3-room house, 3 rooms. No plumbing, 3 rooms. Not 3 bedrooms either. 3 rooms total. In fact, I shared the only bedroom with my big sister and my 2 little brothers. In fact, I never slept alone until I got married. Some of you aren't laughing at that. I was a Boy Scout, saw a Cub Scout a little bit ago, and so good to see you. I was a 4-H'er.
All right.
Yeah, and got my parachute packed. Now don't miss the metaphor, okay? People gave of themselves, asking nothing in return, okay? To give me some of those nuggets I was going to need when the going got tough. And they were community leaders, and they were preachers and teachers, and a coach I'll never forget named Smith. If Clarence Smith were alive today, I would call him this morning to thank this guy for packing my parachute. This ragtag basketball, we lost and lost and lost. The last game of the season, we lost again. Imagine one 13-year-old dejected kid wandering off to the locker room, and here comes the coach. And he caught up with me. This guy was a veteran from World War I. He had shrapnel in his leg, and he caught up with me, and I felt his arm over my sweaty shoulder. And I looked at the coach, tough disciplinarian. All I could think of to say was, "I'm sorry, Coach, I guess this team's just a bunch of losers." The coach squeezed my shoulder. He sunk his fingernails into the flesh. He was about to say something he didn't want me to forget. He said, "Son, whether you think you're a loser or whether you think you're a winner, you're right." I didn't understand it. I asked him the next day, "Coach, what did that mean?" He said, "Just this." He said, "Life is a choice. Every day of your life is going to be your beautiful choice." He said, "I don't care where you go. I don't care what kind of a scrape you get yourself into someday." I don't know how he had that kind of premonition that I would ever be a prisoner of war, unless it was the way I played basketball. He said, "You're going to have some tough times. You're going to have some good times." He said, "I learned in my war," he said, "that the tough times are the really valuable times. And the choices you make in the tough times of your life will be what forms your character for the rest of your life." Ah, those were kind of harsh words. Well, I graduated from that little grade school. Graduated top of my class of 2. At age 17, I'd never seen the ocean. I'd never ridden in an airplane. But I got on that Greyhound bus. 2 days later, as many of you did, just as I did, I pledged to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We wrote that check, you know, that check made out to the United States of America that you and I signed, the value up to and including